Taking Out the Mask podcast. My name is Ashanti Branch, and I'm really glad you've joined us. Today's guest is me. Today, there is no guest. Today, we have a special announcement that I want to share with you. And I think that as I thought about today's episode, as I was thinking about all the things that are happening forever forward in our organization, I thought about like maybe that's too much to be just take an episode and just talk about us and our work and what we're doing. But I think that I've been missing out on doing that. I think I've been neglecting to focus on some of those things more because sometimes I don't feel worthy of sharing all that information out. I feel like I want to be, if you've known me for any time on this podcast, you know that in front of my mask is often I use hard working on there. As I think it's something that I regularly show. And I think sometimes I feel like if I'm celebrating too much, I feel like I'm not working hard. And there's an internalized messaging with me around working hard. I mean, I feel sometimes that it's what I'm supposed to do all the time. And this didn't start recently. This has been since I was 7 years old, being the man of the house, being responsible for my siblings, and always doing stuff. I think my mom had this. Maybe she had an allergy to anyone doing nothing, because she would make up stuff like, "Don't look too relaxed or too comfortable or too like you don't have enough to do." Because I think my mom had this magic list. She would just pull out a list and be like, "Here, go do that. Like, go move that cabinet, clean behind it." Like that cabinet has never been moved, you know. And sometimes I think that those early programmings are a part of me today. Like being busy is kind of like normal to me. When people ask me how I'm doing, I'm like usually saying, "Oh, I'm pretty busy, but I'm doing fine." And sometimes I just maybe I shouldn't say busy anymore because I'm always busy. But it's not in the sense of like busy, like I don't have time to do other things. I'm trying to find time for myself. I'm trying to make time for self care. I'm really putting an intention towards um, that time spent focused and thinking about the work and a bigger picture is important. I mean, I had a friend back in 2014 was like, "Ashanti, on your calendar, you need to have every week time to think and to just process." And I'm like, think. And the first time I put it on my calendar, they were like, "You need to have at least 4 hours a week where you're not doing stuff. Like you're visioning, you're dreaming, you're planning, like, but you're not like in meetings and you're not on calls." And I remember that first time sitting there with I broke it up into 2 hour blocks, and I had a 2 hour block on the calendar, and I was like, hmm. I was looking around like, how do I use this? Uh, And then I found myself being busy. I just went into email because I know how to do email and I know how to do this. And I know how to check the calendar. I know how to check. I found myself busy again. I'm like, I didn't even really use that time. Like I found myself doing stuff again. And when I say not doing anything, it's relative, right? I'm talking about like the idea. If I'm gonna run an organization, there's a time where it needs to be spent, like looking to the bigger picture, and not always in the weeds. And I'm good at pulling weeds. You know what I'm saying? Like I love gardening, literally, and I'm in the work. Sometimes I get stuck in the weeds. Sometimes it feels good to be accomplishing things. But conversation today's announcement, I'm not gonna like make you wait to the end to hear the announcement. I'm gonna tell you really soon. But because this is called Taking Out the Mask podcast, I'm gonna share with you some masks first. And then I'm gonna tell you this really exciting, and the way that you're gonna hear this storytelling about not only these masks that I'm gonna share here, but about the bigger work of Ever Forward is you're gonna hear some voices from some young people. You know, we just recently got back from South by Southwest, and Ryan put together an incredible video uh, called Youth Heard. And I think I want to start this opportunity with you listening to some of our youth. For those of you that are watching this, you're going to see the video. For those of you listening, you're going to hear the voice of four of our young people who went on this trip with us: Wenceslao, Jonathan, Lupe, and Mohandas. And I think what you're going to hear in their voices, and as they got to go to Texas, as you got to go to Austin, Texas, to South by Southwest EDU, they got to talk to adults and present. They got to share their work with the world. They got to be heard. Not only heard, but actually expected to be heard. Like it was not like you were there by accident. Like you're are here to help us share this work with the world, and they did an incredible job. So let's start with listening to and watching that video. And those of you who are going to listen to it, you'll hear their voices. Um, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to share with you some masks we collected over the last couple of weeks with some elementary students that have been really standing out to me. And then I'm going to share with you some really great news. And I'm hoping that as you are listening to today's episode, you see how your participation, your connection, your sharing this podcast is really helping the word get out. And if you haven't yet, if you've never shared it, please share today's episode, if nothing else. If you haven't made a mask, please go make a mask today, millionmask.org. And if you haven't yet, like, taken a moment to just give yourself a little credit for just just showing up, I wanted you to do that too. So take a look at the video and I'll come back and share some masks with you.
Thinking more about Texas is just having those memories or thoughts, the reason why I moved to California. Really difficult relationship, divorce.
Would you describe your personality as mature for your age?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
Yes. I would describe my personality as mature for my age. Do you want me to say because?
Okay.
Because, I don't know, I feel like I've been through certain things in my life that sometimes people that are like 20 or 30 or etc. have not experienced or gone through.
And then tomorrow we have a workshop with Ashanti Branch presenting. If you guys are free, please feel free to stop by. They're all in school. I'm a high school student and a college student over there.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I don't really take that as like I want people to feel bad for me. No, not at all. I take that as like a good thing because it has made me the person I am today, and it allows me to see things differently.
I used to be pretty, I don't know if passive is the word, but that is something that I knew kind of needed to change, in order to become the person I want to be, and simply just not being a pushover.
I'm excited for my family to see my presentation, some pictures of me or some video of me on the panel.
Why are you excited?
I don't know, it just shows how much I accomplished in these 3 days.
We're at booth 466, so you can come see us.
Some public speaking tips, highlighting the point, not the whole sentence, everything you about to say, just like, what's my main point, right? So outside of that, y'all got it. When they want to ask you to speak if you ain't had nothing to say, and we always got something to say, right? Y'all should always have a mic, all right?
Move my foot around so I wouldn't get shaky when I'm talking.
I get nervous easily, even just like talking to friends.
Oh my gosh, they were so awesome.
To have a young person really be leading.
Yeah, it actually it gives me chills.
We talk about youth-centered and we talk about children-centered, but it's like oftentimes adults, we take up so much space in a room.
You ready to go home?
I really enjoyed like the whole roller coaster ride.
You don't want to get off the ride yet.
No, not exactly yet.
How was that? I mean, that video, oh man, when I first saw it, I was like, I was just so excited. I had to start sharing it with people, and it wasn't even published yet. So I was ready to share it already. I hope you heard the voices of those young people who had not only a great time in Austin, Texas, but made use of their abilities and their skills to grow even more. We did a workshop 2 weeks ago, with elementary school. Most of our work is in middle school and high school, but every once in a while, an elementary school will say, you know what, we got some boys that we want you to come work with. And these were fourth and fifth grade boys, about 60 boys. I mean, man, it was a beautiful space. And there's about 4 masks I'm going to share with you, 2 10-year-olds and 2 11-year-olds. And for those of you that won't be able to see them, if you're not watching the video, I'm going to read them to you so you can hear them. But these are really beautiful. And I think that you've heard me talking to men of all ages on this podcast, definitely from teenagers up to mentors of mine who are, I mean, I don't even want to guess their ages. I actually don't think I've ever asked people their age. But let's say we've definitely had a guest in the 60s before. And these are 10-year-olds. And you can go back and listen to some of the masks of older people in our work. But I want you to hear these boys who already at 10 years old know that there's rules that you got to put on these masks. They got it. They don't. You're not going to hear sophisticated language here. You're not going to hear maybe fancy words for the most part, but you're going to hear the heart of boys telling you that they know what it is to wear a mask too. So this first one here is a 10-year-old boy from San Francisco. And on the front of this mask, it says, sleepy, cool, annoying. That's the front of the mask, the things they let the world see. And the back of the mask, the things they don't get to talk about, sad about my dad, missing my mom. That's the first 10-year-old boy. To the second 10-year-old boy, you're going to see the front of the mask says, my attitude, personality, look away. This is what this 10-year-old boy lets the world see. And the things he doesn't let people see. My nice self, my heart, who I really am. Beautiful. So we had fourth and fifth graders. I'm imagining this is a fourth grader, and these are 11-year-olds. But those they can kind of be in any grade. But I'm just a little older boy, a year older, 11-year-old boy. This one is these next two are really beautiful. You could tell the age difference in these next two, but you can also really hear the heart coming out. This next one is a really beautiful image. 11-year-old boy in San Francisco, and the front of the mask says "fun, happy, super happy." That's great, right? Fun, happy, super happy. That I let the world see. And the back of the mask are the things I don't let people see: depression, mad, thinking nothing, sad, mean. Man, thank you. Thank you for taking off the mask, brother. And this last one is one that resonated with me. A lot of these resonate with me, but this one just things that this boy doesn't get to talk about. So this is an 11-year-old boy, and you can see the front of the back mask and the back of the mask. And the front of the mask says, things I let the world see, who I am, and what I like. Look at that, right? Who I am and what I like, I let people see. And the back of the mask, the things that he doesn't let people see is my real emotions. He actually slipped real in there. The loved ones I've lost, my family. And so to these boys who made these masks, thank you for taking off your mask. And what we continue to see over and over again, as you hear men on this podcast, but you see these boys right here, 11 and 10 years old, already practicing the mask. Already. And when does it stop? When does it stop having to pretend that everything is fine when it's not? When do we have a space to be able to be seen for more than who we are? I just want you to know that it starts early. It's not a thing that just starts because you get a job and you get a career and you have to protect your image. No, it starts with our boys. And so the work that we get to do in the Million Mask Movement is growing. And I want you to know that we are so thankful for you, not only those who are part of this podcast, but for those who are listening. Because if you can help one person, like we set a goal of 1 million masks, right? That's a big goal for us, right? We're about 65,000 masks right now. And the movement is growing. So if you're not following us on social media, I encourage you to do that, because what I'm hoping you're going to see in the next couple of weeks is not only as our content changes, but also we began to share more of the work that we're doing in a really beautiful way. So stay tuned for that. I want to tell you about a grant that we just got. Now, the Million Mask Movement is a campaign that we started to support people. It started with high school students, then it went to middle school, and then it started doing the work in elementary school. We're working with teachers and parents and coaches and mentors and counselors and people in education, people in corporate America. But we just got a grant from New Profit, and it's called the Equitable Education Recovery Initiative. Now, New Profit is committed to being responsive to the needs of what is happening in education after this pandemic and what's been going on. And we are one of the 24 organizations who is going to be getting support. Like, I'm going to get coaching and some leadership tools. Like, over the years, I've had some opportunities, but this one is none like any other. Like, this investment in our work is going to not only allow us to grow, it's going to allow us to find the resources so that we can begin building a team to take us to the next level of this work. And so I've been so excited to we just got to make the announcement as of this week. And I've been able to start telling our advisors and folks and things that are happening in the organization and things that are growing with the movement. As you probably have seen some of the other organizations who have begun supporting our work, with Zoom and with Rare Beauty, with Hollister Company, we are beginning to be in a space where people are hearing about the work. Now, listen, I'll say this because before I close, because today's not really a long podcast, but I did want to share this good news with you. If you were around Ever Forward for any amount of time, you know that we have been pushing hard. And one of the things that I'm learning how to do is how to help our team celebrate. And here's what I'm asking you to do, if nothing else. We have a big event coming up Memorial Day weekend. That's our annual 24-hour relay challenge. And some of the videos you're going to hear right now is me announcing this when I first found out. The one video when we were at University of Texas at Austin, I got the call and I was just beside myself. I was by myself. All the students had went on a tour. We couldn't find any parking. I didn't want to get our van towed, so I stayed with the van while the other students went on the tour. But when I got the phone call, I was so excited. So this first video you're going to hear is me making the announcement right after I got the phone call. I was just beside myself. Okay, folks, so I just got a call from, let me give you context where I'm at. I'm at University of Texas at Austin and Longhorns, by the way. And the stadium is right there behind me. So for those of you that know about the stadium, it's freaking amazing. It's huge right there. But I just got a call from New Profit, and the first part of the call, you're just like, we applied for this fellowship, this grant, cohort. And I didn't know if it was a yes or no, because the first sentences were like, well, we just want to let you know that we're so thankful for you applying for this. And I was like, oh. And then she was like, and we're excited to say that we got that. I don't even know the words to say right now. I'm just telling you right now, we're so excited. That is investment in our work. You know what that means? That means that the work that we are doing is starting to resonate in more ways than just in my own mind, in my mom's mind, right? In my sister and brother's mind, like the family, right? And I'm excited because I think that what's going to happen next is, I'm trying to find the best lighting for us right here. What's going to happen next is we're going to be a part of this cohort that's going to help amplify our work in such a bigger way. So exciting. So I can't announce it yet, so I just had to make this video just to, when I get to announce, I'm going to play this video back, and then you'll be able to see the excitement in my mind right now in this moment. Our team is out walking some students around University of Texas at Austin, checking out the yellow brick road over there. Man, I don't call it the yellow brick road, but that's what it looks like. And I'm just super juiced. So, here's what I want to say. More than ever, in this work and ever forward, we have been pushing the message out forward. We've been trying to help people see why this work is so important and so valuable. And one of the things that I really want to tell you all about is that what we there's no way that we can do it by ourselves. Like the vision is too big. The dream is too big. How are we gonna help 1 million people? Well, one person at a time. That's how it's gonna happen. One person at a time, one student, one educator, one parent, one principal, one administrator, one counselor, one at a time. And today we get to see that people are seeing it and hearing the words that we're trying to say. And I've been at this for a long time. I've been pushing hard, and maybe if anybody was to see the success that's happening right now, you see the grant we just got, and you see that, you'll be like, oh, how did they get all these grants? Well, I just want to tell you that anybody who knows me really well knows that I have given so much of my life over this past 18 years. 18 years. Maybe I'm gonna make a live video. I'm gonna go live right now on IG. This is the time. But look at that. That's our new shirt. We just got a new shirt. So thanks, Vanessa, for shout out for that shirt. But I'm gonna go live on this one. Here we go. Part of me is, when I told you that I was a little nervous to make a big announcement, is because I feel like sometimes celebrating, I shouldn't celebrate. I should just keep my foot on the gas and keep pushing and keep moving. But for all the people who have been a part of Ever Forward from the beginning, for all the people who have supported our work, this would not happen without you. For all the people who have shared a post, made a contribution, a donation, come out and volunteer your time, your energy, your talent to help our organization, we could not have done this without you. And I just want to appreciate all of you for being a part of this movement with us. As you have supported us, as you see us grow, I want you to know that we are not forgetting you. Like this is not over. Like this one grant is not like we're done. Like it is still a part of the growth opportunity for us to grow as an organization, because we continue to need to bring in more team, to build more staffing, to more training, more facilitators trained to go out to do these workshops as we grow this work, not only right here in the Bay Area, but as we grow it around the state of California, around the country, and across the world. So that's today. I hope you feel inspired. I hope if you're working on a dream, if you're working on a goal, I want you to know that, listen, I know the feeling of sometimes feeling like, is it working? Is all of this happening? But one thing I've really learned, and I've been not only as of all the books I've read, but all the things I've like try and grapple with my own ability to grow as a leader. I believe in this work. Anybody who knows me probably knows that if you give me long enough, I'm going to tell you about the mask, right? If you know that I'm gonna pull out a mask out of my pocket, I'll be like, hey, you want to make a mask? And you may not want to make one right there wherever we are, in a restaurant or a cafe or in a bar, but you may like go and make one online later. I hope that the passion you see that we show in this work, and the drive you see us pushing in this organization, is because we believe that our young people deserve it. They need it. I'm going to share this last story with you before I close, because it's one that really stands out to me. And there's lots of stories that I could be telling, but I'm working on telling more of these stories through not only the podcast, but also through a blog that I'm going to be creating. And the blog is going to be starting soon. It's called um, Diary of a Confused Educator. And sometimes, as in education, I've been in education for 18 years, 19 years, 18 years for Ever Forward. And then the year before that in my credential year, getting my credential. So 19 years in education officially, but I've been a student for my whole life, And one of the schools we went to, one of the schools we were presenting our work to, they got it. They were like, the principal was like, oh, yes, we need this work. Our boys are showing a lot of signs of behaviors that we need to work on. We need this work. And, I was excited because this is the work we do. And our work is, as an organization, we have a model that is like, we come to schools and they bring us in to do an assembly, to do workshops. to do training for teachers, but they were specifically talking about some of their young men that they needed to work with. And we were reaching out, and I was going to be traveling to the place where they were, and we were waiting to hear back from them. And I was like, hey, we're getting close. Just want to make sure that we're gonna lock you into a schedule. We're trying to like plan this day out. And one of the emails we got back, I mean, after waiting for a long time, the email came back and said, thank you for the opportunity, but we being the team decided that we're going to focus on our state testing. And I literally, when I first read that, I could almost not breathe. And I think I could not breathe, one, because here's my thought, and I'm thinking I'm myself getting a little excited right now, so just bear with me. The leader of the school said, our boys are struggling right now. They're getting not only in trouble, there's behaviors, there's fights, there's drugs, there's other behaviors that are happening. We see it. We can hear it. We feel it. Like, the leaders of the school knew that there's a need. And at the same time, they chose to focus on state testing instead of taking 1 hour and a half, or I mean, ideally, an hour and a half at least, to give students an opportunity to just practice thinking about what else is there. If the students are already struggling academically, if they're already showing behaviors that are not making the school environment safe to live in, and you then decide that you want to go focus on state testing. Now, I'm not here to debate on state testing. I'll have somebody will invite me on their podcast, and I'll talk about that at another place. I'm talking about the fact that our young people are struggling right now around not only the country, but around the world. Young people who navigate it and who are navigating this pandemic and who are trying to figure it out, and they are having a rough time. Even our adults are having a rough time. And I felt like when I read that, I was like, I remember writing a message. I wrote an email, right? Like, I was like, "Arr!" And I wrote it, but I never sent it, because it was a little too aggressive. But I was more upset. Look, I'm not concerned, and anybody who knows me know, I wasn't concerned that they didn't want to hire us to do a workshop at their school. That wasn't the issue. Because my work is about education. My work is about how do we help transform education for young people when we can see the behaviors. There's some that we can see, and there's so many, just like these masks I just talked about, where you can't even see it. They did a good job of hiding what they're going through because they got really good masks. And so that one is one, and maybe I'll, in the Diary of the Confused Educator, I'll post the letter that I did write, because I was really passionate about it. I never sent it, but I write several messages like that where I'm, through my education lens, I come to education with a lot of hats. I don't come to education as just a teacher. I come to education as a teacher, as an administrator, as a former really bad student, as a former really good student, as a community person, as a man in a body that I identify with, but knew how hard it was to be my full self at school, who I had to pretend like I wasn't smart sometimes so that people didn't make fun of me, and also having to pretend like I'm super tough and cool when I really didn't feel like I was worthy. Like, I remember what it felt like in middle school to feel alone. I know what it felt like to be poor and to come to school with clothes that are just going to get you laughed at. I know what that feels like. I know what it feels like to be bullied and to try and like pretend like nothing's going on. I know the feeling of how schools can serve really well, and I know the feeling when schools are failing. I've been a teacher at a school that was doing a disservice to kids. And I've been at schools where, man, they have so many resources. I'm like, oh my goodness, where am I? And today, more than ever, we need to make sure that we are educators, teachers, parents, counselors, advocates. You need to make sure that your school is doing a service to kids on whole child. academic, social, emotional, leadership. And so stay tuned for the work that we're doing ever forward. I got a little excited there, but I just want you to know that what you're going to hear, not only in this podcast, but what you're going to hear on the blog, and maybe even be a vlog at some point, the Diary of a Confused Educator, is going to be me talking about education in a way that you probably haven't heard me talk about education ever. But I am at a point in my own career, but also in my vision about how we need to transform education, that I'm no longer willing to watch it. I'm no longer willing to sit back and let a school leader say we need to do work for our kids, but yet we're going to focus on something else that is not serving them in that way. I believe that that's part of my work too. And here's what I know is a lot of people are not going to be happy. A lot of people, when I talk bad about schools, don't like it. But guess what? I'm clear about it. I'm talking about it as a former teacher, as a kid raised by a teacher, as a former, all the hats I told you that I have worn, and even more that I have not even named. So stay tuned for all the things that are coming soon in the work that we're doing Ever Forward Club. If you're not following us on social media, Ever Forward Club. If you want to follow me directly, Branch Speaks. You'll see all this in the show notes. But please share, subscribe, like this podcast. Look, you're a part. If you're listening to this, you are part of this before it is even taken off to 100 episodes. We're approaching 100 episodes this summer. 100 episode, that 100 episode will happen, and we are excited because we're going to have young people taking over in the summer. And so you're going to hear from some young voices, and they're going to be out in the community talking to men about their masks. So stay tuned for that. And if you know anybody who we should be talking to, if you know somebody, a young person, a older person, a community person who you think's voice should be a part of this podcast, tell us. Let us know. Let us know. And we hope that this podcast will continue adding conversations, adding words, and adding voices to the voiceless. Thank you for being a part of the Taking Off the Mask podcast. We look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye, everybody. The Taking Off the Mask podcast is produced by Ryan Louie. Editing, videography is also by Ryan Louie. Graphics by Kelly Wong. And a special thanks to the team at Ever Forward, Vanessa Cortez and Kevin Romero. And I'd like to thank everyone who's been a part of the creation of this podcast. As we hit this 1-year anniversary, we hope that everyone who's been a part knows that they're a part of the Taking Off the Mask experience. And we look forward to you being a part of it as well. If you liked what you heard today, please like, subscribe, and share. And we look forward to us continuing to offer conversations that matter. Take care. See you soon.